Let's do some algebra from this question paper. We'll start with question 2. It says simplify the following, eh? So 2.1.1, let's write that down. 2.1.1. So I'm writing the question down. So the first thing I would do, grade 10s, is, do you see this bracket is squared? So it means that bracket must be written twice. So I would actually write the bracket twice. B minus 5c and another bracket B minus 5c. Then I would multiply the brackets out, but I would keep the 2b in front. So you keep the 2b in front, and when you multiply the brackets out, you still keep the answer in brackets, eh? So I'm going to say b times b is b squared. Then b times negative 5c is negative 5bc. Then negative 5c times b is again negative 5bc. Then negative 5c times negative 5c gives me a positive 25c squared. Okay, so I would do that first. Then I would add the like terms inside the bracket. So these are like terms. So I'm first going to add that. Everything else stays the same. So keep everything the same. So b squared didn't have a like term. And 25c squared also didn't have a like term. And then negative 5 minus 5 is negative 10. And then b, c. And now I would remove the brackets, eh? So now I'm going to say this times the first term, this times the second term, and this times the third term. So I'm going to write that down. So 2b times b squared. So I'm doing the first one, eh? I get 2b to the 3. Okay, now I'm doing this one times that one over there. And I get my answer to be a negative 20 b to the 2 and c. And now I'm doing this one times this one. 2 times 25 is 50, so it's a positive 50 b and then c squared. Okay, and that's only for 2 marks. So multiplying out and then another mark for that. And that's how you would get your 2 marks over there. But I would do it slowly, grade 10s, so I can get all the marks. Okay, let's look at our next question. We're simplifying 2.1.2. So here we are simplifying exponents, eh? So exponents, that's in a fraction. And then we have a minus and a plus between the terms, eh? So when there's a minus or a plus, doesn't matter, between the terms, it means I'm going to break it up and I'm going to factorize so that I can cancel. That's what I'm going to do. So let's do that, grade 10s. So let's do that. I'm going to write the question down. So we are doing 2.1.2. So I'm first going to write the question down. Okay, so there's a little mistake there. It mustn't be 3x, eh? It must be 3 to the x. So that's just a mistake on the paper. Let's just correct that. And this is over 3 to the x plus 2 plus 2, 3 to the x plus 1. So I'm just rewriting the question. Then, grade 10s, make a note. Wherever you have 2 terms in the power, so there I have 2 terms, here I have 2 terms, there I have 2 terms. This is 1 term, so that one doesn't count. Wherever you have 2 terms, you're going to break it up. This one has 1 term in the power, so it stays the same. So 3 to the x stays 3 to the x. Minus 2 stays 2, eh? 2 doesn't have a power, so the power is 1. So 2 stays 2. But this one has 2 terms in the power, so I'm going to break that one up. So look here, I'm going to break it up like this. 3 to the x and 3 to the negative 1. And this is over. And now this one has 2 terms in the power, so I'm going to break it up. So this is 3 to the x and 3 to the positive 2. and there's a plus. This 2 stays 2, so 2. And then this one has 2 terms in the powers, so I'm going to break it up. So it becomes 3 to the x and 3 to the 1. Okay, so here I've done this. I broke it up. So step number 2 is I'm going to factorize. So when I factorize, I ask myself, what's here that's also there? I'm going to take that out. So I see a 3 to the x is in both of them, eh? So take out 3 to the x and open your brackets. So now we factorize. Because there's a minus, I also have a minus in between my terms. So I'm going to have a minus. Inside the bracket, there's going to be 1, 2 terms. Okay, not 3. So 1, 2 terms. To get the first term, so I'm going to get a number here and a number there. So to get this first number over there, you're going to say this first term over what you took out. So you're going to divide that, eh? Let's do that. So I'm going to say the first term over what I took out. What do I get? Anything over itself is 1. So the first answer here is 1. Then I'm going to do the same for the second term. So do you see this whole thing is the second term, this whole thing. So I'm going to take that over what I took out. So let me take that out. So I'm going to take this over what I took out. So I'm dividing that, eh? So can you see that this and this will cancel? So I'm left with this over here. So let's write it in here. I'm left with a 2 times a 3 to the negative 1. Everything else cancelled. Okay, now I'm going to factorize the denominator. So I'm going to ask myself, what's here that's also here? And it's 3 to the x. So I take 3 to the x out. I open my bracket. So what's here that's also there means 2 terms, eh? So I'm going to have 2 terms in my answer, and they will be separated by a plus. Okay? So now I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to say the first term over what I took out. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to say the first term over what I took out. And then this and this will cancel. And I'm left with 3 to the 2. So this is 3 to the 2. I'm going to do the same thing for the second term. So this over what I took out. So this over what I took out. This and this will cancel. I'm left with a 2 times 3. So inside the bracket, I'm going to write 2 times 3. Okay, so I factorized, eh? So look here, I factorized. So okay, I also factorized. So now I'm going to cancel. So let's go here. So only after you factorize, you cancel. So I cancel these two. So I'm left with what's in the brackets, eh? So I'm just writing what was in the brackets again. So I'm just writing that down. Then you can put this in your calculator. Just don't give decimals as your answers. And you put this also in the calculator, eh? So let's write our answer down. For the numerator, you should get 1 over 3. And then over the denominator must give you 15. And then you put that in the calculator. Don't use decimal answers. Write it as fractions. So I get my answer to be 1 over 45. And that is your final answer, eh? So let's mark. Let's see how you would get marks. So you would get a mark. This question is 3 marks, eh? So you get a mark only for factorizing, not for breaking it up. So for factorizing, for simplifying, and then for the answer. Okay, our next question says 2.2, factorize completely. So not simplify. Simplify is removing brackets and cancelling, eh? Factorize is putting it back into brackets. So, okay, let's look at this question, 2.2. So, first of all, you have to ask yourself, is there a highest common factor? So, there's no highest common factor. It's not the difference of two squares. This is not a trinomial because it's not 3 terms. It's 1, 2, 3, 4 terms. So whenever you have 4 terms or more, your mind must go to grouping, eh? So I'm going to see if can't I group this. So I'm going to group this. So if you group the first two and this two, let's see. If I factorize the first two, there's a highest common factor. So I'm going to take out a. Inside the bracket, I'm going to have a minus x. And then take out a negative. This will become 1. The plus will become a minus because I took out a negative. So this is 1 minus x. This doesn't work because how do I know it doesn't work? Because the brackets are not the same. So I'm going to try something. So what if we try the first one and the third one? So let's write them together. So I'm going to write a squared minus 1. And then I'm going to write the second and the fourth together. So minus ax and plus x. Can you see I'm not changing the signs, So 1 had a negative in front of it. Ax had a negative in front of it. X had a positive and a squared had a positive. So I don't change the signs of the question. Let's try to factorize this now. So they will go together and they will go together. So the first two, these two, there's no highest common factor, but it's the difference of two squares. So this will become two brackets, A and A, 1 and 1, a plus and a minus. Then for these two, I start with a minus, okay? And I'm taking out what's here that's also there, x. So I take out a minus x. When you take out a negative, if this is a plus, inside the bracket now becomes a minus. Okay, so ax over x, let's see, the first term here is then just a, and this x over what I took out is just 1. So there I factorize that, This one looks better. So what's here, that's also there, a minus 1. So I'm going to take it out. A minus 1 is in both terms. And then what is left? In this term, if you take out a minus 1, a plus 1 is left. So I'm going to write a plus 1, then minus what's left? X. So minus x. So this whole thing is a bracket. And then I just remove the bracket. This is a plus 1 and then minus x. And that is my answer to factorizing that, And this is 3 marks. Let's see. So you get a mark, you get a mark, you get a mark. And this is 3 marks. Question 3 says we have to solve for x, So, okay, let's solve for x 3.1.1. So 3.1.1 is this question, and we have to solve for x. So grade 10s, if you have x squared somewhere, do the following, Bring everything to the left and make it equal to 0. So everything to the left and make it equal to 0. Then try and factorize. Then remember you might have two solutions, So that is what we are going to do now. So I'm going to go 3x squared and then I bring the 2x over. So that becomes a minus 2x and this is now equal to 0. Okay, so I did that. Then I'm going to factorize. So I'm going to see, is there a highest common factor? Is there anything here that's there? The factor I can take out is x. So inside the bracket, there's still a 3x and there's still a 2. Okay, so I factorized. Then I'm going to have two solutions. So it's either this in front of the bracket is 0 or the whole bracket is 0. Okay, so let's write that down. It's either what's in front of the bracket is 0 or what's inside the bracket is 0. So this one is already solved. X is 0. But this one isn't solved. So 3x, take the 2 over and then divide both sides by the number in front of x. So x is 2 over 3. And there's your solutions. So this question was only 2 marks. So you get a mark for factorizing and a mark for both answers. And that is how you get 2 marks over there. Okay, our next question, 3.1.2 says, again, we're still solving for x, eh? So we have a fraction over here and we have to solve for x. Okay, what must we remember? We must remember that we always have to factorize our denominator. Then, when you're solving for x with fractions, you have a restriction. So you must just write your restriction down. And then you can eventually drop the denominator and we're going to solve for x. Okay, so let's follow those steps. I'm going to write down 3.1.2. And step number 1 says, see if you can factorize the denominators. So this one can't be factorized. This one can't be factorized. So I'm going to leave them the same. But this one can. That one is the difference of 2 squares. So I'm going to write everything down. So this all stays the same. The 4 stays. Can you see I'm only factorizing the denominator, not the numerator? So this x squared minus 9 becomes x plus 3 and x minus 3. Okay, then before I continue, I want my denominators to look kind of the same. So this one starts with an x. This one starts with x. This one starts with x. But this one doesn't start with x. So I'm going to switch around here. I'm going to rewrite this as 7 over x minus 3. But when you switch around, you have to put a negative in front. But we like to put our negative on top, not in the denominator. Okay, everything else stays the same. So let's tick. I factorized. Now I must write my restriction down. So my restriction is this. So can you see they look the same? So they will have one restriction. Here's my restriction. X minus 3 is 0. So x is equal to 3. Cannot be. So you make this equal to 0 and then you say it cannot be. Okay? Then this one and this one looks the same. So I'm going to write a restriction for that down. X plus 3 is 0. X is equal to negative 3. So x cannot be that. So there's my 2 restrictions. And now I'm going to find my LCD because eventually I want to drop the denominator. So let's write our LCD down. Our LCD is the x minus 3 and the x plus 3. That is our LCD because there's an x minus 3, there's an x plus 3 minus 3. So that is our LCD, eh? So our first fraction only has an x minus 3. So the first fraction must be multiplied with an x plus 3. Okay, but what I do at the bottom, I must do on top. Our second fraction only has an x plus 3. So that second fraction must be multiplied with an x minus 3. But what I do at the bottom, I do on top. And then our last fraction has both. So there's nothing I have to do to this last fraction. And now I'm dropping my denominator. So now in my next step, I'm not writing my denominator. Eh? So I'm rewriting everything on top. So the denominators just fell away. Now I'm going to remove the brackets. Negative 7 times x is negative 7x. Negative 7 times 3 is minus 21. 5 times x is 5x. 5 times this is negative 15 plus 4. There's no squares here. Eh? So when you have no squares, the x's can go to the one side and the numbers can go to the other side. So I'm going to put my x's on the left-hand side. So I'm going to say there's an x and there's an x. So I'm going to have negative 7x minus 5x because it's coming over is equal to then negative 15 and 4 and 21. So then I write is equal to negative 15 plus 4. I bring the 21 over, so it becomes plus 21. And then I solve for x. So I get the left-hand side to be negative 12x And I get the right-hand side to be a positive 10. So then I just divide by the number in front of the x. So divide by negative 12 on both sides. And then a simplified answer of x is then a negative 5 over 6. And that's the answer. So 3.2.1 says, solve the inequality. With these linear inequalities, the plan is to get the x's on the left and the numbers on the right. So I'm going to move this one over. This is a positive 2a. So I'm going to leave the negative 3x over 4 on this side. And then 14, the plus 2 becomes a minus 2. So I have negative 3x over 4. And this becomes a 12. Okay, the plan is to get this x by itself, eh? So the first thing I'm going to get rid of is this 4 at the bottom. So because I'm dividing on the left, I am then going to multiply on the right. So the 4 will go over, and I'm going to multiply by 4. So what stays on the left-hand side is only the negative 3x. This becomes 12 times 4. 12 times 4 is 48. And now to get x by itself, I divide by negative 3. What I do on the left, I do on the right. But now you must just make a note. When you divide by a negative with an inequality, the sign changes, eh? So if this was a less than, it will now become a greater than. So this is only x. This is negative 16. But then the less than will now become a greater than. And that's how you solve the inequality. So then we have a second question here that says, write down the first natural number that will satisfy this inequality. So our inequality was x is greater than negative 16. On a number line, if you have negative 16 here and x is greater than this number, the first natural number that you get is here after 0. Remember, 0 is not a natural number. It's a whole number. So the first natural number will be 1. So then the answer here is, the first natural number is when x is equal to 1. Okay? 2.3 says, solve simultaneously. So solve simultaneously means solve for x and solve for y. Okay, so that's the question. And then they give us two equations over here. So there you go. Now you've learned about two methods, eh? It's either we use substitution or we use elimination. Okay? So either we eliminate or we substitute. So for this one, I'm going to do both. And then you can decide which one you want to use. So I'm first going to do substitution. So with substitution, you look at the two equations and you look at the easiest one. So when we say easy, we mean look where there is no coefficient in front of x and y. That one will be the easiest one, eh? So if I look at this one here, do you see that y doesn't have a coefficient? There is a coefficient, it's 1. So for me, equation number 1 is the easiest. So I'm going to write equation 1 down. So you write it down. And then you make this, where the coefficient is 1, you make that your subject. So you take everything else over. So this becomes 8. Then the 2x goes over, minus 2x. And we call this equation number 3. Okay. So now that we have equation number 3, we are going to say, I'm going to I'm going to substitute equation number 3, and I'm going to put that into equation number 2. So equation number 2 is the one we didn't change. So you always substitute into the one you didn't change. Remember, we changed equation number 1. So you substitute into the one you didn't change. So the one I didn't change, I'm going to write down. It's 2y plus 3x is equal to minus 2. Then, because I made y my subject, wherever there's a y, I'm going to replace it with this expression over here. So I'm going to rewrite this and it becomes 2. Now you see there's y. So this becomes 8 minus 2x. And then I just continue. Plus 3 is equal to negative 2. So plus 3x is equal to negative 2. And now I simply solve for x. This and this, 16. This and this, minus 4x. Plus 3x is equal to negative 2. The x's stay on this side. The numbers go on that side. Plus 16 becomes a minus 16. Simplify this, I get a negative 1x. Simplify that, I get a negative 18. But I'm not solving negative x, I'm solving x. So divide by the number in front, that's a negative 1. On both sides, I get my x to be 18. But the question is not solve for x. The question is solve x and y. Okay, so to solve y, I'm going to take any one of the equations. It's either I take 1, 2, or I take 3 to solve for y. I'm going to take equation 3. So I'm going to write equation 3 down. Y is equal to 2x minus 8. But now remember, I have the value of x. So now I'm going to write y is equal to 2 times 18. Because x is 18 minus 8. And I get my y to be a negative 28. And there you solve for x and y. X is 18 and y is negative 28. Now I'm going to do the other method. I'm going to do elimination. With the method of elimination, you write your two equations down. So this one is 2y plus 3x is equal to negative 2. So the first problem I have here is that y must be underneath a y and x must be underneath an x. So I'm going to quickly switch them around. So on top, I'm going to keep this the same. But here, the positive 3x must be underneath this. And the positive 2y must be there. And this is equal to negative 2. Elimination says either we add them together or we subtract them. So for us to add or subtract, the coefficients of the x's must be the same or the coefficients of the y's must be the same. So here the coefficients are not the same. And here, there's an invisible 1. The coefficients are not the same. So I'm going to make my y's the same. So I want this 1y to be 2y. So I'm going to multiply this by 2. So I'm going to take equation 1 and I'm going to multiply every term by 2. So 2x becomes 4x. 1y becomes 2y. 8 becomes 16. And then equation number 2, I'm just going to leave the same. I'm not changing that one. Now, once the coefficients are the same and the signs are the same, if the signs are the same, you subtract the two equations. So because I made these coefficients the same, I look at their signs. If their signs are both positive or both negative, I conclude that I can subtract the two equations. So let's subtract. 4 minus 3 is 1. So this is x. 2 minus 2 is 0. So that falls away. 16 minus negative 2 is a positive 18. So x is 18. Then I take any one of these equations. So I'm going to take this one, the one before I changed. So before I change that one, I'm just going to take any one and write it down. Then wherever there's an x, I'm going to replace it with 18. So then 2, this becomes 18, is 8. And then 2 times 18 is 36 plus y is 8. y is 8 minus 36. So I get my y to be a negative 28. So can you see it's the same answer as the previous one. So you can choose which method to use, elimination or substitution. And there you go.